Kia ora whānau, welcome back to Mind That Child. This is our series on parenting, really, to equip you to be the best parent that you can be. Not the perfect parent, not possible, but the best parent that you can be. So we've done a couple of series or a couple of episodes already on teens. You may not have tuned into those because your kids might not be there yet. So you can lock those away for later on. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. Ko Dougal Sutherland, tōku ingoa. I am from Equippers, Wellington. But that's not why I'm here, really. I'm here because I'm a clinical psychologist. I've got about 20 years experience. Most of that time is working with children, adolescents and families. So done heaps of this kind of stuff before. It's my bread and butter. Really excited to be able to bring you this series to equip you with some more skills in your parenting. Currently I work at Victoria University of Wellington, where I teach in the clinical psychology training program, and I also work for Umbrella Wellbeing. Little placement product plugs there. Umbrella Wellbeing provides mental health resilience workshops for workplaces. So just wanted to acknowledge my sponsors, i.e. people that pay my bills. But it's great to be here with you guys today. So today, firstly, congratulate yourself. Give yourself a little pat on the back right now. You're investing in your parenting right at this point. And it's crucial because I love this. I started off with this little, poem quote from A.A. Milne for the teen session. I'm going to repeat it for the middle childhood because I think it's really crucial. Here is Edward Bear. Edward Bear was Pooh Bear before he became Pooh Bear. Coming downstairs now, bump, bump, bump on the back of his head behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. So, this is your chance to stop, step out of sort of your automatic head bumping, just doing what you do every day as a parent. It's an opportunity for you to stop and consider, can I do anything differently? I'm sure there's things that you can do. There are always things we can do differently. No judgment. But now's an opportunity for you to actually stop, take in some ideas and hopefully put them into practice in your life. Remember, this is not about being a perfect parent. This is about being good enough. Good enough parents raise good enough kids. And that's what we should be aiming for. Don't aim for perfection. You will set yourself up for an absolutely nightmare ride. There isn't a perfect parent, there aren't perfect kids. Good enough is good enough. So, we want to talk today about managing kids' emotions. Often when you go to parenting courses, I don't really like that term, but there we go, they focus heaps on techniques and things that you do and strategies, and they are very important. But they're only half the picture. I think it's really important to pay attention to our kids' emotional well-being. We know that growing up, kids learn how to display, express, respond to emotions, in part by watching and learning from you. So you are going to be role modelling your kids' emotional development. You are going to be teaching them whether you want to or not. They will learn from you. They will do what you do. So, be great to equip you with this stuff. Now we're focusing a little bit here in this session on that sort of middle childhood period, 7 to 12. But it's equally applicable to younger kids, and it's also applicable to teens. But I'm coming at it from the focus of sort of 7 to 12-year-olds. So, this is a little model here of emotional responding. And you'll see, sometimes it's called the hot cross bun model, right? Because it looks I've made it brown so it looks like a bun and it's got a cross in the middle. And see, I did that because we're all Christians and it corresponds to Easter. So, hot cross bun model of thoughts and feelings. This is about emotional states. That all emotional states have these four things: thoughts, feelings, behaviours, or at least the urge to behave in a particular way, and physical symptoms. Let me think of an example. We've got this, my wife's got this, my wife, we as a family have this really nice leather couch. It was a great investment. It's fantastic. Has little cup holders, and it has like an automatic sort of seat recliner. It's fantastic. It's also white leather. Was that the best choice? Anyway, we've got it. Now, the thing with white is that it gets stained easy. So imagine this situation. I come home and my 8-year-old, well, no, I don't know who's done it. There's chocolate smeared on my white leather couch. My initial thought might be, who the did this? All right? My feeling, my emotion, right, might be anger. My physical symptom might be I tense jaw, like that, kind of, and my behaviour or my urge, the thing that I want to do, is to find somebody and yell at them. Who did that? So, that's an example about how all those things are interrelated, right? And then, your behaviours will trigger off another one of those. So I yell at someone, you kids get in here, and then I think, they're lying to me because nobody's telling me how it did it, and I feel even more angry, and I get even more tense, and then I yell louder. So the bad news is, all these things are interconnected. The good news is, all these things are interconnected, which means you can intervene at any point there and you'll change the whole cycle. So, important to pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, physical symptoms, and your behaviours. That's a big thing, and we're not going to go into all those bits, but I think it's really important for people to have an understanding of the complexity of emotions and the whole nature of it. It's not just about in here, it's not just about in here, it's head, it's heart, it's hands, it's our body. So, really useful to know that and to figure out for you, what are the thoughts that you get when you have a particular emotional state? What are the thoughts what are the physical symptoms that you have in a particular emotion? Because remember, you will model these for your kids. How you are when you're angry, you're likely to see your kids do that when they're angry. How you are when you're anxious, you're likely to see your kids do that. How you are when you're sad, and so on. So, here's a challenge. We're talking about feelings, right? We're talking about, isn't it important to know about your emotional state, your feelings? Yes, it is. And can you name the different groups of emotions, the different families of emotions? So what I'm going to get you to do is stop and pause whatever you're watching this on, probably online. So in a moment, when I say now, I'm going to get you to pause it. What I want you to do is see if you can name the sort of 8 or 9 main groups of emotions, main families of emotions. And we know that these occur across all humanity because we know that they can be identified in all different societies, whether it's somebody living on the streets of New York to somebody living in the jungles of the Congo, that people recognise these same emotional states. So these are unique, these are universal across us as humans. But what are they? We think it's really important for you to be able to identify emotions, emotional states. So pause now and see if amongst you all you can come up with the 8 different emotional states. Hopefully I paused long enough there because now I'm going to go through them. My guess is that you kind of got 4 or 5 and then started scratching your head a bit and going, oh no, isn't that the same? Yeah, happy, sad, yeah, angry, yeah, what else? Anxious, yeah, that's one. What about joyful? Oh no, that's like happy, isn't it? I've done this a lot, so these are typical responses. So let me put them up here. Happy, sad, angry. Fear or anxiety. Jealousy. Oh yeah, jealousy. Surprise. Surprise can go one of 2 ways, right? Surprise is the initial reaction, and then it could go a bad surprise or a good surprise. But surprise is the initial. Disgust. Blah. You think back to when you were parenting little babies. Disgust. Changing that nappy. Shame, guilt, and love. Now, sometimes people get tied up between the difference between shame and guilt. Shame is when I'm really focused on what you think, of what other people think of me. Oh, I've done this thing and I really feel embarrassed, because I don't want to. I'm worried about what you will think of me. Guilt is when you've done something that goes against your own moral compass. Oh no, I did that thing and I hate doing that. I don't want to be like that. I lied or I stole, or a whole lot of other things. Thinking about your own moral compass. So that's the difference between shame and guilt. They often come together, but they are different. And love. So when you break it down like this, it's a little bit easier, right? And there are different flavours, different nuances within these. Sad, down, blue, anger, frustrated, irritable, annoyed. Still all within that family though, right? So really important as a first step that you have think about this as your emotional vocabulary. And it's really important that you're able to know what your vocabulary is so that you can speak it out to your kids. If you don't know what shame is like, how can you talk to your kids about shame? If you don't know what anger is, how can you talk to your kids about anger? So as a parent, the first step might actually be noticing and naming and labelling this in yourself. So how do you do this? Well, I'm going to attempt this technique. It's great to do live. We're not live. I'm doing this down the camera to you at home, and who knows when you're going to be watching this. So bear with me. We're going to do a bit of an exercise. So, and I'm going to do it too, otherwise it's a bit weird. If you're sitting, sit with both your feet on the floor, your hands on your lap in front of you. I'm going to put this in my pocket for a second. It's my clicker. If you're standing, you can do this standing. Just have your feet hip width apart. And just either drop your eyes so that you're looking down, or close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. It's a bit like praying, right? We're all setting up for praying, but we're not going to pray. We're not going to pray. And really, there's the closing of your eyes, looking down, is just to reduce visual distractions. And what I want you to do is I want you to focus your attention on the soles of your feet. And I want you to identify the physical sensations in your feet. Are they hot? Are they cold? Are they itchy? Can you feel the air rushing over them? Or maybe you don't feel anything very much, which is also fine. But just focusing on the physical sensations. And now I want you to bring your awareness or your attention up to the lower parts of your legs, your ankles, your calves, your knees. And again, noticing physically what's going on in this part of your body. Maybe you notice a slight strain in your left calf. Maybe you notice that you've actually got a bit of a sore knee. Maybe you don't notice anything very much at all and it feels a bit weird. There isn't anything you're supposed to be feeling here. It's simply becoming aware of what you are physically experiencing right now. And now I want you to bring your attention up to your tops of your legs, your backside, your lower back. If you're sitting, it's those parts of you that are probably in contact with the chair. Again, becoming aware of what's going on in this part of your body. Is it comfort? Is it discomfort? Is it neutral? And lastly, just bringing your attention up to your breathing. And seeing if you can get into the pattern of breathing in through your nose for the count of 5. And out through your mouth for the count of 6. And becoming aware of where in your body you notice that breathing. Maybe you notice the breath coming in through your nose. Maybe you notice the rise and fall of your abdomen. Maybe you notice the breath coming out of your mouth. And as we've been doing this short exercise, you might have noticed that at times your attention has wandered off your body and wandered onto your thoughts, and you've noticed yourself thinking or planning or daydreaming or remembering. And if that's you, then rest assured that's entirely normal. That just like our heart keeps beating and our lungs keep breathing, our brain keeps thinking. And it's not unusual for our attention to be taken away by our thoughts. And you might even notice that thoughts bring with them different emotions, different urges, different physical sensations. But right now we want to be focused on our body and our breathing. So just returning your attention back now to your breath if it's been distracted by your thoughts. It's almost like your breathing could be an anchor that just allows you to drop in wherever you are and just notice what's going on for you right now. I'm just going to count down from 3, 2, 1, 0. And then just wherever you are, opening your eyes, perhaps moving and stretching around a little bit, coming back into the room. Look, my eyes are, got the light and sort of blinded at the moment. I want you to take another pause. Pause the video. Just reflect with your group on what that was like for you. So do that for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to pause there. So, unpaused now. You reflected on that exercise. Some people might have found that really relaxing. Oh, it was great. Yeah, just felt really calm. Some people might have found it uncomfortable. Some people might have found that they kept getting distracted by their thoughts all the time. Like 100 times their mind went off their body and onto their thoughts. Some people might have felt, especially if you're a parent with young kids, you might have found yourself dropping off. All of those things are fine. All of those things are okay. The purpose of this exercise is to stop and get you to drop in and notice what's going on for yourself. Notice what's going on in your physical body. You might have noticed some thoughts. You might have noticed some emotions. You might have noticed some urges to do something. Oh, I want to get up and finish this. Might have felt frustrated, annoyed, impatient. It's just the opportunity to stop and pause. You stepped out of automatic pilot for a moment and it's almost like you're looking in on yourself. So that's a focused attention exercise. But it's really useful just for you to notice your emotional state. Now, doing it once, at whatever time you're watching this, is not going to be enough, right? If you want to get good at this, you're going to have to practice it. Surprise. So do this for yourself before you start doing it with your kids. Remember, the point is you're trying to be role model, you're trying to teach your kids about emotions and how to display them. But you need to do that for yourself first. And then you can help teach your kids. They can do this exercise as well, or you can probably find exercises online for them to do like this. That won't be the difficult part. That might be a challenge. That might be a homework challenge. Wow, I'm going to find an exercise that I can do with my kids where they can drop in and notice themselves. But the importance of noticing our emotional state, the importance of noticing our urge, and that's just hugely important as a parent, right? Because we get into trouble as a parent often when you feel angry and you behave spontaneously. Or, you parent out of anxiety. Oh, to help you that. We talked about that in the last session when Margs and I just had a bit of a face-to-face chat around, snowplow parenting, when you're just doing everything for your kids. That might be driven out of anxiety. So the importance here is about stopping and noticing. Notice what you have your natural responses to do, and it gives you this break. Is this what I want to do? Is this how I want to be as a parent? And then you can start role modelling that to your kids. You can start helping them to learn about their emotional states. Help them to be able to stop and pause and figure out, how do I want to be? How do I want to respond to this emotion? If I'm sad, what do I do with sadness? If I'm angry, what do I do with angry? All the emotions that we've seen before on the slide, you're going to experience all of these because you're alive and a human. So, how do you want to respond to those? It's not about pushing those away or pretending they don't exist. It's in fact the opposite. And this is a great activity to do with your kids, but you need to do it for you first. It's a bit like that old adage, right? You know, you're in the plane, I flew up here to do this filming, and of course they said, if an oxygen mask falls down from the ceiling, please attach your own before helping a dependent. I didn't have any dependents. Yay, I was in the plane by myself reading. But it's the same principle here, right? You've got to get yourself under control if you're going to help your kids get under control. You've got to figure out how your emotions work before you can help your kids figure out how their emotions work. Now, really important here, you can't tell someone else what they're feeling. Sometimes, and I think it's out of the best intentions, and you hear that often with little kids, that parents will say, oh no, I don't think you're angry, I think you're just hungry. Well, they might be hungry, but actually they're probably angry. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to have that feeling. Now, there's a difference between having a feeling and acting on that feeling. So the two are not the same. Remember the hot cross bun, that's a different part. The anger is fine, but how do you want to respond when you're angry? You will automatically respond. You'll have an automatic pilot that tells you how to respond when you're angry. The question is, do you want to respond like that? And also, do you want to teach your kids that that's how you respond? That's how we respond in our family when we're angry. That's how we respond in our family when we're sad. Because remember, whatever you do, you're teaching your kids. You don't get to opt out of this. You don't say, well, I'm not going to teach my kids about anger. When I get angry, they just won't pay attention. They're going to pay attention, right? They're going to be all over it, even if you don't want them to. So, stopping, pausing, dropping in. Notice your emotional response. Thinking about how do you want to be. And then you will be role modelling that to your kids. And you can use this to help teach your kids about how they can respond to their emotions, how they can identify their emotions. So, I wanted to put that up front because emotional control, emotional understanding, emotional literacy is a hugely important part of parenting, and often something we neglect. I want to turn now a little bit to talking about managing difficult behaviour. Now, remember again, we're targeting primarily that middle-aged, I've said it again, middle childhood period. Remember, I've already said if you've got a middle-aged child that you're trying to parent, if you've got a 45-year-old that you're trying to parent, quickly seek help because that's not normal. But middle childhood, 7 to 12 years old, managing behaviour. The ABCs. And this is also applicable for younger kids, preschoolers and 5-year-olds, but we're just thinking about it with that 7 to 12-year-old hat on. So the ABCs, attachment before consequences. You can't use consequences like timeout or withdrawal of privileges or whatever it is. You can't use those effectively unless you've got a good relationship. There's a great saying I heard somebody say once that said, somebody said, because in parenting courses everybody wants to know what to do when the kids are naughty. How do I use time out properly? And I remember somebody saying, you can't use time out until you're putting time in. Time in is about time into the relationship. And the great idea is about the pyramid here, right? So at the base of the pyramid, the thing that's holding the pyramid of parenting up is your relationship, your attachment with your kids. At the top here, those are the parenting strategies. Those are the discipline strategies, time out or withdrawal of privileges or whatever, grounding, whatever it is. But too often we're tempted to flip that round. Well, I'm going to start with figuring out how to use time out properly. Well, it won't work. It'll be an unbalanced pyramid. So, you can't use consequences or punishments effectively until you've got a good relationship. How do you get a good relationship? That's a good question. So, really the importance here is what we call child-led playing time. Child-led, what does that mean? It means for 20 or 30 minutes, you just do what they want to do. You join in with what they're doing. This is a time when you're just hanging out and playing. Ooh. And for some of us, me included to be honest, it can be a struggle. Oh. So, look, good rule of thumb is if you can do it 20 minutes a day, that's pretty good. So, it's not like, oh my God, I have to do this extended 4 hours playing with Lego on a Saturday afternoon with my 8-year-old. I tell you what, your 8-year-old's going to get bored of that, let alone you. 20 minutes a day. Just hanging out doing stuff. No questions from you. No directions from you. Really hard, right? Oh, God. Why don't you put that in? That's a question. What we should do, oh no, that's a direction. Just hang out. Just be with them. You might not even be actively involved. They might be playing on the floor with their Barbies or with their Lego or whatever it is, and you're just there with them. I can hear some of you saying, what happens if they're on the screen? Can we play screen time together? Probably. You just hang out. Watch what they're doing. It'll be a bit boring, but 20 minutes, right? It's just hanging out. You're just interacting. You're not guiding them. You're not telling them. And that starts the basis of a good, solid relationship. And once you've got that relationship, then you can put the strategies, the discipline strategies on top of those. Now, really important, be aware of where your attention's going. Actually, this goes back to that exercise, the focused attention exercise we just did before, right? Remember that focused attention exercise, and I said, you might have noticed while we were going through your body that your mind slipped off and went on to something else. Focused attention is not about being solely focused on something for the entire time, because most of us can't do that. It's simply about noticing when your attention slipped off and going, done, bringing it back. Sometimes that's really easy. Yeah, it was cool. I could just, I was just down there with my kids and we were just hanging out for half an hour. And most of the time I was just there. I was just engaged with them. A couple of times I kind of, slipped off, and other times it'd be really, really difficult. Like it feels like every minute you're trying to go backwards and forwards. Oh, my attention slipped off. So wherever you are, be there. If you're going to play with your kids, be there. Put away your phone. How many times, I'll put my hand up, I've done it, do you take your kids or interact with your kids and you've got your phone? Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah. Scrolling through your social media. Or I've just got to check the news headlines. What's that? Yeah. You're not there. You're not present with your kid. Wherever you are, be there. If you're going to have 20 minutes with your kids, put away your screens particularly, and just focus on them. Just be there. Don't beat yourself up if your attention slips off. I'll tell you what, I've played Lego long enough that I've found that it can be infinitely boring. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is you're investing in your relationship with your child. So, I'm going to bring this first part to a pause there, and I want to set you some homework. So, the homework hopefully should just follow on, right? So, 1, start to notice and name your own emotional state. Get into the habit, and you really want to, do it. People always say, how many times should I do it? There is no magic formula. If you do it every day, you'll be better at it than if you do it none at all. If you do it 3 times a week, you'll still be better than not doing it at all. So there's no magic formula. Do it as often as you can. Do that exercise where you stop and notice and name. Understand yourself. Drop into your own emotional state. Plan some time when you're going to hang out with your kids. So that whole concept of, just hanging out, child-led play. And then when you're doing it, try just being there. And I mean mentally there, right? Physically, obviously, you're going to be there. I'm talking about mentally. Try, and it is something that you'll have to try and practice and get better at. Try just 20 minutes a day, just being there. Not giving directions, that'll be the hard one, right? As parents, we're used to firing out directions all the time. As much as you can. Don't beat yourself up if you do notice yourself giving instructions. It's pretty normal as a parent. So, homework. start to get in touch with your own emotional state. There's a saying, become familiar with your own internal landscape. I kind of like it in a way. Become familiar with your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own physical reactions, your own behaviours. Because you're going to then be able to help your kids if you can be aware of your own. Plan some hangout time, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just be there with them. So, try that out. Remember, unless you do anything, this has just been a mildly enjoyable sort of 20 minutes or so of chatting. The behaviours are really crucial to put this stuff into practice. So thanks for your attention. Look forward to seeing you next week for part 2 of the parenting of that middle childhood age kids. And this has been part 3 of our Mind That Child series. So thanks for your attention. See you next time.
Well, welcome back everybody to Mind That Child. We're here with Dr. Dougal Sutherland, just having a chat through some of the teaching he's done on middle childhood. So, one of the things that you talked about, Dougal, was just how important building relationship is with your kids.
Yep.
It's like it's a real cornerstone that you need to set in place before you get to the nitty-gritty, the hard parts of the discipline.
Yep.
So, for some of us, that's quite tricky to actually get down on their level, to play.
Yep.
Maybe, you never had a dad or a mum that spent that time with you. They were busy working or didn't know quite what to do. How do we get over that awkwardness?
Practice. And I think you're right even on that. You said get down on their level, and I think that's crucial, is that often we sort of try to interact from, up here to down there. And actually that's, from a kid's point of view, that's like that.
Yeah.
So you get it and just practice. Look, the analogy I think of is like learning a new language. Is that when you try it for the first time, it feels awkward. And it's like, and you just want to stop using this dumb new language and go back to what you've always done, because at least it's comfortable. But how do you learn a new language? You practice. And this is just like a new language that you, if it's your parents didn't do it, it's not natural. It's like, oh, this is awkward. But practice, and be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, sort of go, do you know what, my parents didn't do this, I find it really difficult, and I'm going to do it anyway. And the I'm going to do it anyway is the braveness. And that's what we want to breed brave parents, right?
Yeah.
Parents who can say, I'm going to commit to doing something new. I'm going to do this differently. I'm not going to repeat the patterns from my past. I'm going to do, and that takes braveness.
Yeah.
And one thing I know about being brave is that, when you talk to people who have been brave, it never feels brave at the time, right?
That's right. It's just terrifying.
It's just terrifying. So be prepared for that terror of going, oh, how do I do this?
Yeah.
But practice.
Yeah, that's really good. Practice. Yep. And things will get better. And the other question I wanted to ask you about was, again, along the lines of relationship with your kids. So there's a lot of blended families these days. Mum's got a few kids, dad, and blended marriage or together. How do you build relationship with the kids from the other family?
Yeah, that's a great question and a really, really relevant one. My advice in those, especially if those blended families are just coming together, that the non-biological parent, whoever that is, so if it's not your kids, and this would be a good discussion for you to have with your partner and probably with the kids as well. If you're not the biological parent, hold off for maybe 6 months, a year before taking up that discipline role.
Right.
Because otherwise, all your relationship is built on is this.
Yeah.
And you'll get, almost predictably, right, you'll get the kid saying, you're not my dad, you're not my mum. No, not trying to be either, but I am a parent in this household. But leave the disciplining to the biological parent.
Right.
You focus on just establishing that relationship.
Right.
And it'll be longer. And it'll be more difficult because it won't come as naturally probably as it does with your own kids. Because with your own kids, there's something like there, right? Biologically, you share genes and you've grown up together. You've seen them from the time they were born. But for in a blended family, you might not have had that. So focus, really crucial, even more crucially, to focus on that relationship first and foremost. And give yourself a break. Don't do the discipline thing. Leave that to the biological parent. The most that you can do in the discipline area is support the biological parent. Hey, look, you guys, your mum said not to do that. Yeah. And so And so if she said not to do that, that's the rules.
Yeah.
But focus on that relationship first and foremost.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's great advice again. So there is a little bit of homework which Dougal has talked about. Noticing, naming your own emotions so that you can manage them with your kids. And then also making sure you're building relationships. So thanks very much, guys. We'll be back for part 4 soon.